This is Fedora 29 with the default GNOME 3.30 desktop, as I have it installed on an external hard drive. I haven't made any changes up to now except that I installed the RPM Fusion repositories and I installed Simple Screen Recorder. If you click on Activities, you get the overview with the dash on the left with your open applications in the current window in the middle, a search bar up here, and you can type from anywhere and search. SIM, I get Simple Screen Recorder, Simple Scan, Maps. When I erase the search, it returns to the former view. On the right are two workspaces, the current workspace and an additional one. If I use the additional one, it will add another additional one. So you always have one extra. And this is with dynamic workspaces enabled. And this is the way the dash is by default. It has Firefox, Evolution, Mail, Rhythmbox, Files, Software, and Simple Screen Recorder, which I installed. And then if you click on this matrix symbol at the bottom, you get this array of icons, and it has the same advantages and disadvantages as the array in the Ubuntu implementation. The main disadvantage being that there's not enough room for text under these icons to show what they actually are, so in many cases you have to guess. Of course, if you're familiar with all this, you can probably guess correctly. But if you're not, it's a headache. I'm not going to go over all the installed applications now, but I'll go over them later. So I'm going to press the super key and type tweak. Before I get past the first three letters, I see GNOME tweaks down here, but it's in software, it's not installed. So if I click on this, I'm automatically going to go to software. Here it is. I'm going to click on install. I'm not going to launch it from here. But again, I'm going to press the super key and type TWE, and there's tweaks. Now, I'm going to add this to the dashboard, or favorites, add to favorites, and I'm also going to launch it. Animations are on. I'm going to turn them off. By the way, this just toggles when you click, it changes regardless of where you click. Suspend when laptop lid is closed, I'm going to turn that off. Over-amplification allows over-amplification of your sound. I'm going to leave that off. Under Appearance, it has the Adwaita theme by default. The others are Adwaita Dark, High Contrast, and High Contrast Inverse. I'm not going to change that right now. Cursor, I'm not interested in changing that. Icons, I'm not interested. Shell, I have nothing to change to yet. Sound, there's only one option there, and it's default. On the background, I could change it here, but I'm not going to. It's easier to change it from the desktop. An adjustment I'll change later if I have to. Lock screen, that's the background for the lock screen. It's not actually the lock screen. Now, on extensions, alternate tab is off. I'm going to leave it off. Applications menu is off. This is the category-based application menu, and I'm going to turn that on. And you notice Applications appears up here. Background logo, Overlay a tasteful logo on the background to enhance the user experience. That's on. Oh, that's probably Fedora here. That's the background logo. I'm going to turn that off and Fedora disappears. Launch a new instance. This is off. It launches a new instance of a program each time you click on the dash. I don't want to do that. Places status indicator is off. If I turn that on, Places appears up here. And window list displays a window list at the bottom of the screen. I could turn that on. You can see it shows a traditional window list, but I'm going to turn it off for now. I'm not going to change fonts. Under keyboard and mouse, I have a touchpad, so I'm going to go down here. Disable while typing, it's on. It doesn't ever seem to work, but it's on. Click under fingers, click the touchpad with 2 fingers for a right click and 3 fingers for a middle click. Just clicking on that does nothing. I have to go to disabled, I think. Under area, click the bottom right of the touchpad for right-hand click and the bottom middle fork for middle click. I'm going to click on disabled for both of those, and that disables both of those. Under startup applications, I'm not going to change that. Under top bar, the application menu is on again. Battery percentage is off. I'm going to turn that on, and it shows 100%. The date is off. I'm going to turn that on, and you can see October 30th appears. I'm going to leave seconds off. I'm going to leave week numbers off in the calendar. On window title bars, I'm going to enable the maximize and minimize buttons. Notice that they aren't enabled now. And to maximize or minimize, you have to right-click, minimize or maximize. So I'm going to enable both of those, and you see the maximize and minimize buttons appears. And under placement, they're currently on the right, which is where I like them. You could change them to the left. Under Windows, Attach Modal Dialogues is on. That keeps the dialog boxes centered on the window that they're associated with. I'm going to turn that off so I can move the dialog boxes around. Under edge tiling, when on, windows are tiled when dragged to screen edges. That's on. I'm going to leave it on. Center new windows is off. Resize with secondary click is off. Windows action key, it's the super key. I'm going to leave that on. Click to focus. Windows are focused when they are clicked. I'm going to leave that on. Under workspaces, I have dynamic workspaces enabled. That's what I showed you earlier. Every time you add something to a workspace, an additional workspace is created, so you always have one extra. If you click on static workspaces, the number of workspaces is fixed. It's false 4, and you can change the number, but I'm going to leave it at dynamic workspaces. I only have one display, so I'm going to leave the workspaces on the primary display only. So those are the tweaks that come by default with the tweak tool. Now I'm going to change the background by right-clicking on the desktop, and it says Change Background. And then I'm going to double-click on Background. This is the one that's installed, as you can easily see. I'm going to change it to this pattern here on the left. It's less intrusive. and click on Select, and it's automatically enabled. By the way, you see I'm in Settings, and I could go to other settings if I wanted to. And this supposedly changes during the day, and you can see that the top bar has a certain amount of transparency, so the background shows through. So now I have the Applications menu. And now the applications are categorized so that under Favorites I have Firefox, Evolution, Rhythmbox, Files, Software, and Tweaks. Under Accessories I have Calculator, Clocks, Documents, Files, Maps, Text Editor, Tweaks, and Weather. Under Graphics I have Document Viewer, LibreOffice Draw, Photos, Simple Scan. Under Internet I have Firefox. Under Office I have Calendar, Contacts, Document Viewer, Evolution, LibreOffice Calc, LibreOffice Draw, LibreOffice Impress, and LibreOffice Writer. Under Sound and Video I have Cheese, Rhythmbox, Simple Screen Recorder, which I installed, and Videos. Under Sundry I have Problem Reporting. Under System Tools I have Boxes, GNOME Boxes, Settings, Software, and Terminal. Under Utilities I have the Archive Manager, Characters, Disks, Disk Usage Analyzer, Fonts, Help, Image Viewer, Logs, Screenshot, and System Monitor. And under Other, I have DNF Dragora. That's another thing I installed. That's the Fedora equivalent of Synaptic Package Manager on the Debian-based distributions, and it's forked from RPM Dragora of Mageia. So if I wanted to see the Activities Overview, I could just go down here and click on Activities Overview, and I would get it. Of course, a faster way of doing that is just to click on the Super key or Windows key. So you can still get the Activities Overview if you want it. But if you're willing to live with the Application menu, you can do that. Now I installed the Places menu also, and there you have Home, Documents, Downloads, Music, Pictures, Videos, Computer, Browse, Network, etc. When you click on the time and date up here, you get the calendar and a notification area. There's also a place to add world clocks and to add a weather application, and that is integrated to some extent with the calendar as it was in the previous version of GNOME. And on the right you have this unified system menu, so all of these little icons here essentially do the same thing. You click on anywhere up here and you get the system menu, and here's sound as a place for the microphone, brightness, here's my Wi-Fi network, the battery is fully charged, and here's my username. And then down here on the right you have shutdown, and of course I don't want to shut down, so I'm going to cancel. And for some reason that opens up my minimized applications, so I'm going to minimize them again. And in the middle you have a way to lock the screen. I don't like to do that. Of course, if you work at a large general office, you might want to. And on the left you have settings. You can also get to this from the menu or from the overview, but this is a quick way to get to settings. Now, I was already in background, so I'll start at the beginning here. Wi-Fi shows my network and other visible networks, and airplane mode is off. I'm going to leave it off. Up here, Wi-Fi is on. I'm going to leave it on. Bluetooth, I turned that off before, and I don't have any Bluetooth devices, so it just uses power. There's no reason to leave it on. Background, we were already there. Notifications. Notification pop-ups are on. Lock screen notifications are on. And I've left on all of these applications that provide notifications. You can turn some of them off if you wish. I'm going to make this full screen here. Under search, these are places you can search when you use the search bar. Some of these don't make too much sense to me, and you have to scroll down to get to the bottom. And this gear takes you to other search locations, the places that are searched. For now, I'm going to leave search the way it is. I'm going to leave region and language the way it is. Universal access, I'm going to leave the way it is. This actually scrolls off the screen, so you can find more options by going down. Online accounts, I don't use any of those directly from my desktop, so I'm going to leave that alone. Privacy, screen lock is on. I'm going to turn it off. I get a dialog box and I have to turn it off from there. Automatic screen lock is off. Show notifications, I'll leave that on for now. Location services, it's on. I'm going to leave it on for now. Usage and history. I'm going to clear the recent history and then I'm going to turn that off. Purge trash and temporary files, it's currently off. I'm going to leave it off. Problem reporting is automatic, and that's on. I'm going to leave it on for now. Under sharing, this shows my computer name. I don't have any kind of file sharing, screen sharing, or media sharing, or remote login enabled right now. Under sound, under output, this shows the speakers on my Yeti stereo microphone, and I have my headphones plugged into that. Under input, it shows the Yeti stereo microphone, and you can see the input level in a kind of a crude way. Under sound effects, I have those turned all the way down, and there's a choice here. Under applications, simple screen recorder is now using sound. So I'm not going to change any of those. Under power, the battery is fully charged. I've been here already and changed some of these things. The screen brightness is at the highest level. Dim screen when inactive, I turned off. Blank screen shows 0 seconds. And actually, I chose never, I think. This turns off the Wi-Fi. I don't want to turn it off. Mobile broadband I don't have connected, so that's off. Bluetooth, I mentioned I turned that off. Automatic suspend I turned off. I like to choose when I'm going to do things, not have them done automatically. And when the power button is pressed, I think it was set on suspend. You have suspend, power off, hibernate, or nothing, and I put power off. By the way, that triggers a normal shutdown procedure, so you don't damage your system by using the power button to turn the power off. Under network, I'm not connected to a network right now. I'm not connected to a VPN. Under devices, displays, I can change the orientation. Here's night light, I can turn it on or off. I like it off. Keyboard. These are the keyboard shortcuts. I don't use many of those, but I'm going to leave them for now. Mouse and touchpad. I'm going to go back to touchpad again, and remember I had some other touchpad settings earlier under tweaks. These are different. The touchpad is on. Natural scrolling is on. That moves the content, not the view. I'm used to moving the view, so I'm going to turn natural scrolling off. Touchpad speed is about medium. I'm going to leave that. Tap to click is off. I'm going to keep it off. Two-finger scrolling is on. I'm going to turn that off. Edge scrolling is off. I'm going to turn that on. I haven't tried connecting my printers yet, but I've never had any trouble connecting printers to Fedora with GNOME. If I run into any trouble later, I'll mention it. Removable media, I'm going to leave that for now. Thunderbolt I don't have, so I don't need to do anything there. And I'm not going to change the colors. So that's devices. And the last item here is details. And it shows that this is GNOME version 3.30.1. Shows my device name, my memory, my processor, etc. Date and time. I have automatic date and time on, and that means whenever I first connect to the internet with a new session, if there's any problems with the clock, it will automatically be set. And of course, you want this to happen if you go from daylight savings time to standard time, etc. Automatic time zone I have off right now. My time zone was set during installation at Chicago, United States, and I think it guessed that without any input for me. The time format is what I want to change. It's now 24 hours, as you can see up here. Probably won't change much now. It shows 12:09, and I'm going to show AM, PM. It shows 12:09 PM. But when it gets to 13, it's going to say 1 p.m. instead of 1300. So under users, shows my username and my password. Automatic login is off. Last login was today at 10:24. Default applications, Firefox, web browser, Evolution Mail. I would change that if I installed Thunderbird. Music is the Rhythm Box. I'm not going to use it, but it's there. Videos, I'm going to leave for now. Image viewer, I'm going to leave for now. I tried to install VLC, which I can usually install without any problems from GNOME software after I enabled the RPM Fusion repositories, but I was not able to do it. First of all, when I go to software and I search for VLC, it doesn't show up. So I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to press the super key and search for DNF Dragora. Notice I have this set on show x86_64 and no arch only. That's so it won't show the 386 versions of software. So now I'm going to search for VLC. Search. And it's found. I'm going to make this a little larger. It's in the RPM Fusion free repositories. So I'm going to click on Apply. And it says there's a build transaction failure. VLC 3.0 requires various things, but none of the providers can be installed. Conflicting requests, nothing provides, etc. This is the first time I've had a problem with VLC recently, and I haven't solved the problem yet. So I'll have to wait until I can figure out how to do that. Going back to GNOME software for a minute, I've enabled the third-party applications. There was an invitation to do that, and I did it. And under add-ons here, several of these were installed by default. I think these top three on the right, and I installed all of these codecs on the bottom. This is under codecs. Now, if you go to fonts, you have to wait for them to appear. I'm not going to change the fonts now. Under input sources, you have things like the Japanese input method, various other input methods, simplified Chinese input. I'm not going to change any of those. Under localization, you can localize your language. I'm not going to change it. I have English United States already. That's local enough for me. Under shell extensions, these are things that you used to have to get from the web page, the GNOME extensions web page. Now you can get them directly from GNOME software, and this was also true in the last version. So I'm not going to install any of these now, but as you can see, there's quite a large number of extensions. Let me see if PyRenamer is still in the Fedora repositories. Yes, it's still there. You may recall that this is no longer in the Ubuntu repositories, so I'm going to install that. Click on Apply. Okay. Enter my password. Authenticate. So that's installed. I'm not going to run it right now. We look for sane backends. It has sane backends, but it's not installed. So I'm going to install that. Build transaction failure. That's rather discouraging. Let me try that again. Build transaction failure. Let me try something else. Try the terminal. Sudo DNF install sane backends. Enter my password. It says here that it's already installed, so perhaps there was a little bug in DNF Dragora. Now it shows it installed. This is a screenshot I made with the desktop only running, and of course the terminal with the free utility and it shows 771 megabytes used. So that's a little on the heavy side of middleweight, but it's lighter than GNOME 3 used to be. That brings up another improvement in GNOME. The screenshot utility is now a lot easier to use. Let me just get a different screen up here. I'll show this overview for a minute. Now, let me take a screenshot of this. All I'm going to do is press on print screen. It takes the shot and it automatically saves it. There it is. It used to be that when you take a screenshot, it would then ask you if you wanted to save it, and if you did want to save it, where you wanted to save it. At this point, it just takes the screenshot and automatically saves it to the Pictures folder. One of the things that's been mentioned about GNOME 3.30 is that Files 3.30 no longer supports icons on the desktop. Now this is Files, About, and this is version 3.30.2 stable. Of course, it's hard to show what something doesn't do, since it doesn't do it. But you notice in settings there was no option for showing icons on the desktop. So that's my first look at Fedora 29. I have a few lingering questions. How I can install VLC, for instance, whether I'm going to be able to install my scanner as easily as before. So I'll do some investigation and probably make another video about Fedora 29. This is XRAM Tech. Thanks for watching.